Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course. You good old boys in Canada, we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful September the 16th, 2020. Ronda Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I want to quote that great American poet Donald Trump when he says, there's no racism in America, even though we call Black Lives Matter racist in America, terrorists.
Yeah.
And even though we call the Hispanics racists and we kidnap their children and deport them, there's no racism in America. I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders for the great job that you do regardless of someone's race.
Yeah, they're always doing a great job, and they don't care what color you are. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You go by and test drive yours. Just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a structure. Man, Big C, I'm telling you, fires are not as bad in California. I know it's raining down south where you are, but we really appreciate having our Veterans Crisis Hotline, whether it's raining or having fires. They really are experienced helping veterans and the ones put out fires. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, I wish we could ship all this rain that we've been getting the past couple of days out to the West Coast, Charlton. But when we think about our veterans, and many of these veterans have been rained on daily since their time in service in the United States. We lose some 22 a day or more to suicide in this country, Charlton. And think about the horrific numbers that have grown on that due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
We have many veterans that are destitute, that are homeless, that are financially strapped, that are mostly barren, Charlton. And we give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, which should become a way of life in America for every media outlet to give that out every day.
Yeah.
To talk about, they want to say thank you to our veterans, help out our veterans, get them some mental aid that they desperately need, Charlton. Get them to that Suicide Prevention Hotline number to give them an outlet to vent to. That's what we need more is American participation. Yeah,
and they really do help. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can really get some help. Even President Biden was talking about the crisis line yesterday. Really appreciate that. It's not just Big C Sports. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: for 10,000 real estate agents and brokers put their property listings on TV, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. Sports teams do it too. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com, and you can get abreast of opportunities there too. Big C, I wanna just say, you know, so much has happened, and sports is trying to do the right thing. But I feel with all this talk about how do we get sports back and college football, the Big Ten announced there's a season to resume. I think they're saying October 23rd and 24th. When you take multi-million-dollar corporations and you can tell young kids that they can work for free and risk their lives. What does it take for a kid to say, that sounds like a good bet to me, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is all about a money grab. This is the reason why the Big Ten is going to be playing football. And if you look at where it's playing at in the Ten, these are the swing states. These are the states that Donald Trump stumped around through a little over a week ago. And a big part of the Big Ten go back to play.
Yeah.
I believe that the White House made available their testing ability to the Big Ten to get these schools back on the field and put these athletes back out. I know that they're going to say that they didn't, but the Big Ten all of a sudden came up with the same testing criteria that the White House
has.
And now they're going to be playing football.
Yeah. You know, you can twist a kid's arm, and, I mean, but at the same time, if there's a sign that says, Iceberg straight ahead, I do feel that we owe it to young people to not put them in harm's way. I've been around some slick car salesmen, some slick talking real estate people, and they're people who tried to sell a house that did not exist because people with money, sometimes they'll just buy property sight unseen. I've seen people do that. And I've seen car salesmen that know how to unhook that check engine light so when you get in it, it doesn't come on until you drive it about 30 miles. And I feel like these young kids have been told the scientific information that they received a couple weeks ago was not valid. And they're being told that the scientific information that made the Big Ten close down the campus of Michigan State, they're saying that's not that big. So your thoughts?
But, I mean, realistically, when you look at it, and I'm not a proponent of college football being played this year, but what did these kids sign up for? Did they sign up to go get an education, or did they sign up to go play sports? We got to be realistic when we're looking at that aspect of it.
Yeah.
They signed up to play college sports, hopefully to try to get to the next level. That's their optimum goal in life. And that's what you've seen in some players opting out even before they brought the season.
Yeah.
Is that they signed up to play football. They didn't sign up to be a rocket scientist. They didn't sign up to be a physicist. They didn't sign up to be a math wizard, Charlton. They went to school on a football scholarship.
Yeah.
They didn't go to school on an academic scholarship. So they're trying to live their dream through their fulfillment of that athletic scholarship.
It's a shame, though, because I would hate to see one of my children being taken advantage of by an adult who has several $1 million in the bank based on my kid giving them more free labor, who never has to really put themselves in harm's way. We've even had the CDC, I think his name is Robert Redfield, I believe is the name, and he's saying that if we had a mask, it's probably safer than taking whatever vaccine that POTUS is pushing. And I'm sure POTUS also told these Big Ten commissioners, look, you guys make about $1 billion to get these blacks out there playing for you. In fact, we may even have a vaccine that's ready in a couple of weeks. And I'm sure some of that went into it, Big C. So if you have a city director saying this mask can help you even better than a vaccine can, they don't wear a mask when they're playing football. Or am I wrong, Big C? Your thoughts?
But, see, we can't put all the emphasis on these coaches. I mean, the parents of these players, Charlton, have had these players longer than the coaches have.
Yeah.
And I see irresponsibility on the parents, not on the coaches. Because if you're a parent, you're worried about the overall health and welfare of your child, then you have to sit them down and explain to them that this is not the right time for them to go out there and play football. If you're practicing social distancing at home,
yeah.
Why are you sending your child out there to not practice social distancing while they're on campus or on a football field? This is more I see on the parents than I do see on the coaches. Because as a parent, your job is about protecting your children, caring for your children, assuring that they get the right message and information every day, Charlton, as a parent. It doesn't stop because your child is 5. Doesn't stop because your child is 15. Doesn't stop because your child is 25.
Yeah.
They are still your child. So as we want to put the emphasis on these coaches, I don't blame these coaches. These coaches are just like any other CEO in any other company. They're saying, we're getting back to work. If you choose to come back to work, fine. If you choose not to come back to work, there'll be nothing held against you. You still have your scholarship. But it comes down to the parents' responsibility to their child to say, this is not safe. Take a year off. Take that red shirt year and come back next year more healthy if they have the science right.
So when you say it's up to the parents, and I understand some people say it's up to the parents, but you know what I'm going to say is true, Big C, without even telling what it is. If you've ever sat down with some really sharp negotiators, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a guy selling cars or selling your insurance, and there are people like Donald Trump, he's a great salesman. Donald Trump is one of the rare individuals that can tell you that he lied to you. Yeah, I lied to you, but I lied to you for your own benefit. And there are people who say, yeah, okay, well, if you lied to me then, maybe you're telling me the truth now. So I don't put the parents at the same position as a guy making several $1 million that can convince even the parents that your kid's going to be the next superstar. I wouldn't give them the same responsibility of influence. Would that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
I look at that differently. What you're saying is that the parent has no credibility or no responsibility to their child. Is that you're letting them off? Is that anybody who comes along and makes a statement to their child, is that what they're supposed to believe in? I mean, there's drug dealers in America, Charles, make more money than head coaches.
Yeah.
So if that drug dealer comes and recruits your child and say, okay, come sell drugs for us, and this is the kind of money you're going to make, you're going to say to your son or daughter, go ahead on and work for that drug dealer. There's no guarantees that you're going to have a 401k at the end of dealing with him. There's no guarantee that you're not going to end up in prison or dead. The same thing we're looking at with college coaches right now.
Yeah.
So you have to put the onus on a parent. That parent's ultimate responsibility is to protect their child. It's not up to the coach to protect their child. That coach is running a business. Bottom line, a business. This is the reason why he goes in with an agent and negotiates his salary.
Yeah.
He's not doing it for free like the athlete. He's not doing it for the love of the game. But that parent is looking for an opportunity to get out of a situation that they're in generally. If their child can go to college and make it financially, then that's going to be a windfall for them and the rest of the family is what they're looking at. They're not looking at the overall health of their child. They're looking at the financial ends that may potentially come in the end of it.
The reason I disagree with you, I've known some people who were lobbyists here in California, and you talked about drug dealers, and these pharmaceutical reps, they will go and sell to this legislature or even to doctors why one drug is going to be a panacea for their patients.
So
They're skilled at it.
What you're saying, if a coach came to your son and said, we're giving you a full ride scholarship, but you have to come out for the basketball team, you wouldn't let your son go?
I'm saying there's some parents who don't have the mental makeup.
Yes or no?
Well, it's not that simple. It's not that simple, Big C, because...
Okay, so that comes down to the point I just made about these parents that are made about the coaches. You're saying it's not that simple. And here it is. That's the question that's put upon a parent. Do you care about health and welfare of your child regardless of the story that's given to you by somebody? We're not talking about a pharmaceutical company that's dealing in billions of dollars. We're talking about an individual student on a football team.
At the same time, I disagree with you because you act like parents have the same skill level that these $1 million coaches who've been taught how to say, like a politician, they're taught what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and they just don't know. I know an OBGYN in Northern California, and she told me, not that she had to, but she told me how much money the doctor makes when they do a C-section on a woman as opposed to natural childbirth. And I know that if they take a code of ethics, they have a fiduciary duty to do the right thing by their patients. But would you believe there were so many doctors who would choose a C-section to deliver a child because they make more money than doing natural childbirth? Those mothers delivering those kids, they have to trust their doctor. But some doctors do it because they say it's safer, it's less risky, but they also make more money. So I don't say the patient or the parent has the same skill level as someone who's skilled.
So what you're saying now is that the parent of a college athlete doesn't have the mindset to understand the science that they're talking about on television every day, that they're not intelligent enough to decipher what's good and what's bad. That's what I'm saying about the parents out there. We're not to put them on the level of a negotiator, of a coach. We're talking about the basic science that everybody looks at on television. You're saying that the parents are not intelligent enough to understand that.
Yes, look at Donald Trump, what he's done, Big C. He even said it himself. He said he lied to the American people, knew that COVID was deadly, And if he told enough people, don't worry about it, that they would believe him. And then he told people that he lied because he knows that most of America is dumb. That's just being very honest, and Donald Trump knows that. So when he knows that most Americans are dumb, and he can lie to them, he can tell them that he lied, and they believe him anyway because a lot of them are dumb. I don't think these parents are as skilled as the athletic directors and the college administrators. And when POTUS showed up and gave them the same test the White House is, I think sometimes people can be influenced.
I beg to differ in a big way. Jeffrey Simmons, who lost his life a few weeks ago from California University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
His dad was a former #1 overall draft pick with the Pittsburgh Steelers, stayed 5 years in the NFL. So I know he went to college for at least 4 years because he played before they had the early entry. And as an offensive lineman, you normally spend at least 4 years in college.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that his dad was intelligent enough to understand the science. As there are other dads out there and mothers whose children are playing college athletics who have college degrees, and they have allowed their children to go back to and play college sports. So I'm not saying that these parents nowadays are high school or even grammar school dropouts. I'm saying at least half of them have college degrees, Charlton, and they're still not listening to the science.
Well, the president has a college degree, but he's dumb, and he's a liar. And a lot of people get influenced by people who lie to them. And when I say dumb, it doesn't mean they're not book smart, but sometimes they let their guards down because they trust what somebody says to them. But that's just my opinion.
So I guess we're going to have to college football on the level that all the parents are dumb because they're allowing their kids to play sports.
I'm saying the ones that it's a subjective thing. Let me ask you this, and maybe this answers the question. The Big Ten feels that they have a better understanding of myocarditis, that even President Trump says that he knows that COVID is dangerous. He knows it was deadly, but he said it's okay, it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean he's dumb, book smart, but he's dumb scientifically. So when a Big Ten plays, and one of those children becomes ill, like the kid that went to California, Pennsylvania University, the university in Pennsylvania, if one of those children, these athletes, test positive for COVID-19, and we know they will, if they end up with myocarditis, do you think they're going to have them sign a waiver like the president did at his rallies that you cannot sue the university when you knew that science told you not to? Or do you think there are going to be a lot of lawsuits happening because kids will get sick when they play with fire? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that they'll get them to sign a waiver because if you look at what Ed Ogeron said, he said all his kids have tested positive for COVID-19. He just hoped that they don't get it again. They just were not reporting it.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same thing in the Big Ten, just like in the AC and the SEC. They are not reporting the positive cases. As we've looked early in the year and we've seen the number of schools that have tested positive. I think you said yesterday Texas Tech had 75 players that had
75.
tested positive. We know of many other schools that have canceled practice. Matter of fact, you talked about a game yesterday that was moved, Arkansas State.
Yeah, in Central Arkansas.
The players testing positive for COVID-19. We know that COVID-19 exists. This is all about a money grab with the Big Ten. This is not anything else. They sat back and looked and said, damn, the ACC, the Big 12, and SEC is going to get all the playoff money.
Yeah.
We're not going to get that money. We just can't let all that money go to those conferences. They're getting all the television money. You notice one thing, Charlton, out of the Power 5 conferences, the one conference not playing sports, the Pac-12, the players demanded 50% of the revenue.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 haven't budged yet.
I told you, they make them read. It's a fact. They make them read. And
that was the players demanding it, not the parents. It was the players.
Yeah, the players
so
read.
This is what I mean. The players, as well as the parents, have to be responsible. And those players making those decisions, and they recruit nationally, not just from the West Coast.
Yeah.
They recruit from all over the country. I'm believing that those parents say, if you're going to take a risk, then you got to get something out of this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at in that. And you think about that. I know Alabama starting running back, Najee Harris, is from the area out there where you're in.
Bay Area, yeah.
So what you're saying is that his parents don't read.
I think they don't, Big C. That he went to Alabama. He left Cal. He could have gone to Cal Berkeley, a better institution academically. He could have gone to other institutions in California that have higher academics. But there's something they offer those kids when they go south. And you know what it is.
Look at Alabama on opening day of the NFL had 59 starters on the opening day of the NFL.
Yeah.
That's what they're offering. That's what those players are looking at. My opportunity to be a player and even a starter in the NFL At the University of Alabama, they had 59 players on opening day starting on NFL rosters.
Yeah, but there's 1,700 players that play in the NFL, so that's not that much. I mean, think about it. There's a lot of great colleges. If you're good enough, they find you. You don't have to go to the account. They find you, Big C. A lot of Pac players played professional football, too. But I'm going to get into this, not insulting anybody's parents, but I'm saying I've known enough kids. You know, would you believe Northern California? I can count on one hand, in the last 2 years, 5 of the top 10 players in California have ended up down south in the SEC. It's not because they get the better education. A lot of those kids don't even graduate in the top 200 in the country, Big C. But college football works for the Pac-12 since you brought it up. And think about the consideration of play. And Big C, believe it or not, money talks too. And Mr. Scott, that's a coach of the Pac-12, he likes money too. And they're trying to get the same program and the same protocol that they used to convince the Big Ten to play football. So the White House, even though Donald Trump's not concerned with California, they're going to offer them that same type of testing. And if the Big Ten kicks off, don't think the Pac-12 will be far behind because they're willing to sacrifice kids, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, everybody's on that money grab is what it's about. I don't even know if they even consider sacrificing kids. They're looking at their bottom line dollar.
Oh, yeah.
We have to start looking at college football as a business is what it is. It's not an institute about higher learning. Yes, some kids do graduate.
Yeah.
But it's about the money that these conferences make. And when you got schools making over $100 million in profits, and you also have to understand, college football funds the athletic programs at all the Power 5 conferences.
Yeah.
Very few are supported by basketball.
Yeah.
But football is the engine that's pulling that train down with all those cars that are hooked up behind.
Yeah.
They need the revenue from football to fund these universities, Charlton, to pay a lot of these salaries. And so when they see the money out there, the television is still willing to play it, even on an amended schedule. That's what it's all about. We have to stop thinking it's about the health, safety, and welfare of the football players.
And you know, ironically, Big C, the painful part of what you just said, most of those players are black kids. And the CDC came out and said that black Americans are 4 times more likely than white Americans to get COVID-19. And black Americans, for the Power 5 teams, they make up about 80% of the kids that start on these teams. How many white, I'm just being honest, it's just a suggestion, you're in the South. How many white running backs does Alabama have drafted into the NFL in the last 10 years? How many white receivers does Alabama have drafted into the NFL in the last 5 years? How many white linebackers has Alabama had drafted into the NFL in the last 5 years? How many white defensive backs has Alabama had drafted into the NFL in the last 5 years, Big C? Your thoughts?
But, Charlton, I have to go back to every one of those black parents of those black students that are on these football teams. They have to pay attention to the science and the news just like we do and most Americans do on a daily basis. If you're not concerned about your child when they leave out of the house, I know many black parents that have a conversation with their children on how to stay safe, how to survive, how to get back home at night when they leave the house.
Yeah,
you have to have that
that's
same
true.
conversation about COVID-19. It just can't be looking out for the police. You have to look out for that silent killer also called COVID-19. Parent, if you can have a conversation with your child about how to survive on the street,
Yeah.
you also have your responsibility is to have a conversation with your child about how to survive COVID-19.
Yeah. I have an unfortunate experience with a friend of mine that I went to college with. He ended up studying law, but he went to work in the correctional system in California because he said, Charlton, you know, they're going to start me out with about $90,000 a year in income. $90,000 right out of college. And he said, unfortunately, what he learned is that many of those kids that get caught by the criminal justice system, that stop and frisk mentality that POTUS and Giuliani loved, he said oftentimes they'll catch those kids, Big C, doing whatever the white kids do. They let the white kids go. And they'll say, we know you're guilty. If you just say you're guilty, if you confess to it, what we're going to charge you with, usually a drug offense, marijuana, whatever, then you're going to get 5 years, but you'll be out on good behavior in about 2 years. But if you plead not guilty, if you get convicted, you're 10 years in the penitentiary. And these kids are innocent. And you know those kids sometimes, because they don't know any better, even the parents will say, you know what, son, just say you did it. At least you'll be out in 2 years. And Big C, they have more influence than you think, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the reason why everybody's education is important. Even there, you just can't sit at home and spend your days watching daytime television. Pick up a book and read and learn what your rights are in life. This is the reason why you go to school. Your parents go to school, you go to school. Just don't sit there and take basket weaving. Just don't sit there and take sports journalism classes.
Yeah.
Learn something about the law. If you know that mass incarceration and these things are a problem in the minority community, then you have to arm yourself, not with a gun, but with some knowledge.
Yeah.
If you're pulled over, they take you in and ask what you plead and tell them you want to have a trial within 30 days. They don't want to do that because they don't have evidence on you.
Yeah.
And so they lock you up for a time. If you tell them you do not want to waive time, you will get released. This is what they'll do because there's such a backlog in criminal cases in the courts of justice. They don't have enough people to prosecute you. They have to release you without you cutting a deal. They have to release you because the prosecutor is not going to have evidence on you, and they can't move trial dates. They have to have you on trial within 30 days. So you will get out of the system. So everything is about education and what you deal with, whether it's COVID, whether it's the law.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And my friend who works in corrections told me the same thing. It's just like they fit with a net, and they know that enough guys don't know their rights, and their parents can't afford a lawyer, and they'll take the time, even though they're innocent, which is it's a shame they do that to black kids. But POTUS, racism in the United States. So the college football season, I'm going to ask your thoughts. What do you think would be the impact of college football playoffs with another Power 5 conference now joining? Because the Big Ten, I'm telling you, Big C, I feel bad for people because they couldn't wait a year until we get on top of this thing. But the white guys got to get their money. They're not hiring black coaches, but they're hiring black kids to go get that free labor. What's the Power 5 going to like now with another conference in, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, what is it going to look like in totality? Is somebody going to play 5 games? Is somebody going to play 8 games? Somebody going to play 7 this year? Well, if everybody doesn't have an equal number of games, Charlton, once the season is over, and how are you going to break it down to say these are the top 4 teams in the country? And say 3 of these teams have losses and you're still ranked in the top 5. Who's going to be the top 4 teams in the country? Are you going to base it on this? And you can't say, well, it's strength of schedule because you're only playing a conference schedule now. You're going to say this conference is stronger than the other conference. So, it's a quandary. Not only are you looking at the college football playoffs, but what's going to happen when it comes down to Heisman and no team has played more than 8 games during the regular season? Say a team is stuck with 5 games. That's all they could get in because they had games canceled because of COVID-19. What is it going to look like in the total landscape? They talked about that's a bubble in the NBA with the abbreviation. Who should get what award and whatever. This is the same thing that's facing college football right now, Charlton. There is no way that they're going to be able to complete anybody's schedule without having a COVID-19 breakout if they're being honest about it.
They've already had breakouts before kickoff. LSU told us that at Aldridge. America, please make sure you register to vote. Text the word VOTE to 26797 and get registered. Tell all your friends that Big C, the NFL, said vote. Especially you college kids that have turned 18. Make sure you get out and vote too. We're going to take what's called the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. And when we come back, I'm going to be a Big C. There's more conferences that are saying, you know what? If the big teams can do it, if the Power 5 can do it, then maybe we can too, because a lot of kids don't want to read. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on so many platforms. I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Would you believe college football, the Mountain West Conference, is also finalizing plans for rapid testing for COVID-19 and potentially get back to playing fall sports. And in the Mountain West, you're looking at Boise State, Fresno State, University of Nevada, UNLV, Wyoming, San Diego State, and Colorado State. I believe Air Force is in there too, in Hawaii. So it's not just the Power 5. Well, ironically, Big C, the Patriot League, the Ivy League schools, and the HBCUs, so far, they haven't been sold this bill of goods that Donald Trump sold these white administrators and how to get this free labor out of black kids. Because the Ivy League is mostly white, do you think they'll fall to the pressure too? Or do they really put the health of the white children over the health of athletes in football? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you also got to look at the Ivy League, Charlton. It's a multicultural conference. I mean, there's every nationality of kids that play football in the Ivy League. I look at the Mountain West that you just talked about, and I listen at the demographics that you were mentioning, and how can you, keep that conference safe when you're talking about so many states participating in that conference and the broadness all the way from Hawaii to Colorado, Charlton,
yeah,
as far as demographics that's being covered. How are you going to rapidly test all these individuals and keep them safe? This is all a money grab when it comes down to it. Like I said, it's on the responsibility of the parents. You think about kids that's going to school in Hawaii. A lot of those kids are from the West Coast, California, Washington, Arizona, in that region, Charlton, and they've gone across the ocean. They're 3,000 miles away from home. It comes down, like I said, as much to the responsibility, if not more, on the parents. You talk about your son has just gone off to school. Do you feel that you have no more responsibility for him?
I feel I have great responsibility, but he's not.
My point I was making about these other parents is that it's the responsibility of the parents. You just can't say it's the responsibility of the university that he's attending. You are still his parent, and you still feel that grave responsibility. Why don't these other parents feel that grave responsibility for their athlete student that's at these other universities?
Yeah, my son, a little bit different. He's not on a team. He's not playing sports. He's there for academics, and he's not exposed to the in and out of different people coming in and going. But I know it's something that we all got to deal with. I want to ask you also, there's a quarterback at the University of Michigan. I believe they're still part of the Big Ten, the Conference Big C, the Wolverines. His name is Dylan McCaffrey. He's opting out of the season, and he's going to seek a transfer. And here's his head coach is Jim Harbaugh. I don't think he's just transferring because he can't beat out his competition. I think if people that are smart, if they transfer, I may be wrong, but I believe they can hold out of the year without losing that eligibility. And I see more and more, even though the league is trying to get people back to playing, it seems like the smart kids are saying, well, let me just opt out or hold out this season. That make any sense to your thoughts?
I look at that a little different. He's been in Michigan 3 years now, Charlton, and he has not been able to crack the starting lineup. And the guy that beat him out this year is a redshirt freshman. So he knows that his opportunity to play at Michigan is very lean. But if he's opting out to transfer to another school, is he transferring to a school that's going to be COVID-19 free?
I don't know if any school is going to be COVID-19 free,
okay.
Big C.
So how can he be opting out because of the science? He's opting out to get an opportunity to play. So wherever he's going to opt out and transfer to, Charlton, that university's been hit with COVID-19 as well as that football team also.
Yeah.
So he's leaving one fire to go into another fire. This is all about playing. This is not about leaving a university because they're playing football. He wants an opportunity to get on the field, which he has not been able to do over the 3 years that he's been at Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everybody has their own personal choice to make. I wish everybody well, no matter what they do. I just feel like sometimes a good salesman can sell you that car with the check engine light on, and it seems that's happening. I want to touch on a little bit of basketball because what I saw last night in the NBA, and people, I can't believe so many people are saying, fire Doc Rivers, fire Doc Rivers. There's a lot of coaches that don't have an NBA championship, and Doc Rivers has one with the Boston Celtics, and it wasn't Doc Rivers that couldn't make a basket last night. It was Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Congratulations to Denver. I saw so many times in watching that game where the Clippers were not even challenging the shot. Murray was playing his butt off last night. I even saw Kawhi Leonard look at him as he pulled up for a three-point basket. And here's a guy that got his finger on the ball earlier in the series, I believe, and blocked it with his finger, with his middle finger. But now, it just seems like, no matter what anybody says, it's my opinion, and I want to hear your thoughts, it seems like Denver's a good team. They're number 3 seed for a reason. But it just seems like if you're shooting like 11 for 37, and you can't say, you know what, maybe I need to go to the basket and get a layup, it's as if the Clippers were out of it emotionally. It had nothing to do with losing to another team, even though I want to congratulate Denver. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, my interpretation of the game last night, is that the Clippers got the shoe kicked out of them last night. That's what I saw. They got it happen 3 games in succession.
Yeah.
You lose double-digit leads in 3 consecutive games, Charlton. You don't deserve to be in the conference final. Denver, as I told you prior to the game, would go out there and outplay him. You would see Murray get back to the form that he had when he was playing against the Utah Jazz, Charlton, when he was scoring 40 and 50 points a night. He dropped 40 last night. Jokic had a triple-double. They had no answer for the big man, and his assists were off the chain, but the 22 rebounds was the big difference that Jokic had against the Clippers. The Clippers looked like a team, Charlton, that should have been, auditioning for a Red Bull commercial because they had no energy. they looked empty. That's what they did. And so when you don't make a basket it's for the first 7 minutes, 46 seconds of the fourth quarter, you don't deserve to be moving on.
Yeah.
But here's a team that got beat up. Denver is a much better team than what people are because they don't get primetime television all the time during the regular season. People discount these teams.
Yeah.
But when you look at Jokic, he's the best overall big man game. You think about averaging triple-doubles, and only Westbrook is beating him in the past couple of years, averaging triple-doubles during the regular season. He's a complete basketball player. Murray is one of the emerging guard stars of the NBA. So when you get caught on the ink of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and those guys have to make a difference, those guys in Denver look at the paper also. They get paid to play, and they outplayed the Clippers.
Yeah. Maybe. I just feel they didn't have something was going on.
You didn't see the last 3 games?
No, but I saw it. But what I'll say also is Paul George came out and said that he was dealing with some issues and he needed some help. Like we get about our crisis hotline, we don't know what's going on in everybody's lives, but you can tell me that this team played with their hearts last night because for the last 3 games they just did not. And sometimes people have stuff going on that they don't tell everybody. But he did.
Ever since Paul George been in the NBA, in the final game of the series that he's played in the playoffs every year, he's averaging 24% from the floor. That's his shooting percentage. So he's had these issues ever since he's been in the NBA. I appreciate him being public about the struggles that he's going through, being locked down in the bubble. His career average in the fourth quarter in playoff games, Charlton, is 24%.
Yeah, it was a disappointing loss, and no one knows how to put a finger in it now, but I would say it's probably something going on that people don't know about. I want to swing it over to the Eastern Conference, and I think I saw one of the best blocks I've ever seen in the history of the NBA universe. Jason Tatum trying to go to the basket, Big C, and then a guy by the name of Bam out of Bio came over, and he said, no, so fast, my friend. Like the great Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friend. That was one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen. You look at the Miami Heat. They have a new no-name defense by Gordon Dragic, Bam Adebayo, Jay Crowder, Tyler Herro, and Duncan Robinson. This is a team that a lot of people, they're Pat Riley's in the organization, so you know they're going to be legit. And then Jimmy Butler, he has a mentality, a tough guy mentality that he's brought to that team. And Boston might be in over their head because now they're running up against some real men and not guys who are enamored with watching the Big Three on the Boston side. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the greatest part about this Heat team, Charlton, is that they don't have this budding superstar that has to get the ball.
Yeah.
When you look at what they're doing night in and night out, and there's been a different guy every game that has stepped up. You talked about Tyler Herro, the rookie out of Kentucky.
He's
he
good.
was one assist shy of having a triple-double last night.
Yeah.
And so he was putting it there. And when you talked about Adebayo's dunk, I mean, he actually took that ball out of the rim.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the word of the law is in the NBA other than when the ball is on a downward trajectory and you push it away from the rim, it's supposed to be goaltending.
Yep.
I guess it has to be released from the hand at that point. Because he took that, I don't know why he didn't break his wrist.
Yeah.
But he took that ball out of the rim and said, you can't bring no Kool-Aid to a tin park. And so you got to take that softness back home and give it to the kids.
Jason.
But, the Miami Heat, with what they did last night, I've been impressed. I was impressed with them last series.
Yeah.
To go out there and have the moxie that they have, to be a number 5 seed in the playoffs, and walk out there with your big boy draws on in basketball, they're doing it.
Yeah, Tatum was like, what in the hell did I run into? It's like sometimes he ran into the invisible hand. But no, that was just a great block. And Miami's tough. They're street tough. They're like the kind of guy, when you talk tough to them, They say, gentlemen, I think if you let the man go, he could express himself a little better. The great Richard Pryor said that about John back in the day. But it's all fair love and war. I want to just get your thoughts going forward. If we have, we've seen everybody with the Lakers in the last couple of weeks, which to me, when the Lakers had a big layoff before they played the Houston Rockets, they dropped that first game. And they also dropped the first game to Portland. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver gets the first game against LA. Even though I'm a West Coast guy, I know people say you shouldn't partial, but I am. They gotta come in they gotta have a mentality of playing inside out as opposed to outside in. Forget about shooting threes. They better bring their big boy britches. They play Denver. Big, see your thoughts?
Well, but see, Denver got a big man inside. When you look at what Jokic can do. And following Jokic, I understand why he's such a great player, passer, and rebounder now.
Yeah.
The guy who coaches him on the Denver Nuggets is Wes Unseld Jr. The great Wes Unseld passed earlier. He's one of the only two players in NBA history to be Rookie of the Year and MVP of the league in his rookie year.
Yeah.
Only he and Wilt Chamberlain have accomplished. His son is an assistant coach on the Denver Nuggets. And when you look at the development of Nikola Jokic, the center of the Denver Nuggets,
yeah,
he mirrors a lot of what Wes Unseld did when he was with the former Washington Bullets.
Yeah.
He's a great outlet passer. He's a great rebounder. He's a total team player. He's not selfish. He can get you points if necessitated, but to him it's more important that his teammates get the points.
Yeah.
And when you think about a guy averaging triple-doubles, he has more triple-doubles than anybody else in the bubble, Charlton.
Yeah.
This guy is the ultimate team player, so the Lakers got to have an answer for him. We know that the Lakers are not a great knockdown shooting team from the outside. Denver is the better. Denver really needs a couple big games from Michael Porter Jr. to really offset what the Lakers do.
Yeah.
They put him on Davis. Jokic play some zone, shut down the middle. It's going to be tough for the Lakers to penetrate.
Yeah, I'm looking at a good series. I'm still going to pull for Lakers in 6. But that first game is going to be really tough. It just depends. Also, NBA came out with the first team today. Of course, you have Luka Doncic, James Harden, LeBron James, Giannis, and then Davis. There's some good players. I mean, the NBA, you got to be able to ball anyway. And then second-team players, notable guys like Chris Paul, Damian Lillard. Jokic is also in there. And you have so many players. Tatum is on the third team along with Westbrook, Big C. I mean, just going through some of the players. It's something about the mentality. I know they go first team, second team, third team. But when I look at Jimmy Butler, maybe this doesn't matter, but attitude-wise, I think he's brought a swagger to the Miami Heat that maybe they didn't have before. This guy's had such a difficult upbringing, but right now he's really seen both sides. Universe, Big C, who would you give the all-attitude guy if they made that award in the NBA, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, everybody in the NBA has an attitude when you look at it. These guys come to play night in and night out. It's about being competitive. What Jimmy Butler does with this young team is that he brought in some leadership. Everyone said that he was disruptive in Minnesota, in Chicago, and in Philadelphia because you had some budding superstars on those teams, young, high number 1 draft picks, Charlton.
Yeah.
And those guys wanted to be the marquee face of the team. Jimmy Butler arrives down in Miami. He buys into what Eric is doing as a head coach.
Yep.
And the rest of the team has responded. When you look at what they've done in the playoffs, Charlton, you got to look at Jay Crowder, Tyler Hero, and Duncan Robinson.
Yeah.
Those 3 players off the bench are averaging 41 points a game. Unsung points. And when you're getting points like that off of your bench, it makes it easier for the starters.
Yeah.
Because now your opponent is playing at a deficit.
Yeah, and then you think of Kawhi Leonard being chosen second team last year's NBA Finals MVP. It's a great game. I love basketball. I want to touch on some WNBA. Last night, Phoenix Mercury, Big C, they advanced in a single game elimination against last year's NBA champion, the Washington Mystics. And you had Shea Petty, who released 4 weeks ago by Washington, scooped up the last playoff by Phoenix off waivers. They picked them up off waivers and hit a game-winning shot at the buzzer. Congratulations. The women are playing such good basketball, even though it's overshadowed by the men, Big C. Your thoughts?
I love how competitive the ladies are, Charlton. I hate the single elimination. You got one game to advance in the playoffs. It's not even a 2 out of 3 series. It's one game the way they've defied the playoffs for the ladies down in Orlando. But what a great story for Shea when you think about it. She was released by the Washington Mystics. They hoped that she would clear waivers where they bring her back.
Yep.
And she's picked up by the Phoenix Mercury. And it's the team that was dissed by and kicked out on the street that she sent home packing, Charlton, from the bubble in Orlando.
Yeah, I guess she popped the bubble, if that makes any sense, down at IMG Academy. You know, WNBA, a side story, the Black Lives Matter movement that was called by Donald Trump a terrorist organization, which is not true at all. And he had a town hall last night, Big C, and there was an African-American man who I believe was a pastor. And when he asked Donald Trump, when you say you're going to make America great again, what does that mean to Americans? When was it ever really great for Black Americans compared to white Americans in this country? And all president can say, well, if you look at before 6 months ago, before COVID showed up, then I did have a lot of Black Americans who were employed in this country, even though a lot of people had to work 2 and 3 jobs. But it's all fair in love and war. Did you hear that comment, Big C? He had no answer when he talked about making America great again.
I listened to the comment, Charlton, and people need to understand the statistics. Joe Biden and Barack Obama, unemployment rate with African Americans was lower than what it is there with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has added something to it. Donald Trump has only employed 1.6% of the population of Black Americans. The unemployment rate increased by 84% under Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So it's only increased by 1.6% under Donald Trump. So when he wants to talk about Black Americans doing much better and incomes have increased under his administration, I don't know where he's getting his statistics from. It's just like when he said all Americans own stock. So I guess the 45 million Americans that are unemployed
they own stock.
are sitting at home looking at their portfolio, their stock portfolio.
Yeah, and he knew COVID bad. He just had to lie so people wouldn't get upset. You don't want the truth? What that good old boy said, I want the truth. You can't have the truth. I think that was great, Jack Nicklaus, and he was talking to Thompson in a movie. People want the truth. Well, the truth is, WNBA, think about this. Jonathan Irons, who spent 13 years in prison for a crime. Listen up, people. Like one of my friends from college, he's a correctional officer. He works in the federal penitentiary in California. There's a black man spent 13 years in prison in a country that Donald Trump says is not racist. And Attorney General William Barr says it's not racist. 13 years in a prison for a crime that he did not commit. That means he didn't do it. WNBA star Maya Moore opted out of the season to fight for his release from prison. Announced today on Good Morning America, Big C, that they're a married couple a couple of months ago. But it never would have happened had she not used the legal system to prove someone's innocence, and he never should have been in there. And when that man, the pastor, asked Donald Trump, what had he done to make America great again for Black Americans, and he had no answer, Maya Moore has done what every politician that's good has been calling for. When you have prison reform and criminal justice reform, you can answer these issues. Donald Trump, he pardoned other people who were guilty, but a person who was innocent never even brought his name up. Big C, your thoughts?
He knows nothing about him, Charlton, because unless it's a political job for him to get him a photo op, he's not going to help anybody. And what Maya Moore did, you talk about admiration for a person, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is what Black Lives Matter means. Maya Moore put her career on hiatus.
Yeah.
To help out this man, Mr. Irons. They've known each other for 13 years. She knew, because she knew him as a person, what he was capable of and not capable of. And when he told her he did not commit the crime, she worked at every endeavor that she could, Charlton. She took her financial wherewithal and her knowledge and her notoriety to help get this man out of prison.
Yep.
This is what people want, a chance in life, Charlton. This is what blacks have always wanted in America, a piece of the American dream. But when it costs you 13 years of your life for not even committing a crime that they just lock you up because you're black.
Innocent, racial
profiling.
profiling.
People go through.
Yeah.
This is not systemic racism. This is racism in America that we deal with all the time. Just like everybody is seeing now with everyone's video camera, videotaping these incidents going on all over America, and police have been lying about them all these years.
Yep.
This man lost 13 years of his life because police and prosecutors wanted to lie on him to say he committed a crime. We talked about the pig laws down in the southern states. You remember a couple months ago we were talking about Louisiana?
Yep.
Where a black man got a life sentence trying to steal a pair of garden hitches. They said crime. That means he did not
Didn't do it.
But they still gave him life in prison for attempting to steal a pair of garden shears.
Yeah, and POTUS says that there's no racism. Even if he looked in his administration, I wish the pastor would have asked him, what about your administration? How many African Americans have been hired by your administration compared to when President Obama was in office and it looked like more of America? And that guy he'll be voted out of office November 3rd as long as people vote. I think his daughter Ivanka has some type of a deal.
Well, I'm not so sure. With the move he made with the Big Ten, Charlton getting hold of those swing states, he went up to the Big Ten and stumped for the Big Ten to start playing football. He provided the Big Ten, Charlton, with the same testing ability that the White House had.
Yeah.
Donald Trump did that. So he's going to have a whole lot of people in those Big Ten states, Charlton, those swing states now, stumping for him because they got football back.
I think those same people that read, they know he lied to them, and over 200,000 Americans have died because he lied.
He lied to them. 200,000 Americans have died. But what did they want up there more than anything else? You said the parents wanted to go beat up the commissioner, Charlton, of the Big Ten. So if they were willing to beat up the commissioner because he was telling them the truth, that meant that they believed in Donald Trump's lies.
I still think a lot of young people realize that he lied to them then, and he's still lying to them now. And I don't see people that read that are going to vote for him again. But we'll see. Life will be determined by what people do at the polls. I want to ask you real quick. I know we're coming up on the close of our show. It happens too fast. We talk about college football and about, people reading. The NCAA basketball for men and women, they've been talking about waiting until the spring. Now they're talking about having a start in November, I think right around, Thanksgiving, the holidays, but we'll have a new president by then. But with everything happening, what put that in jeopardy, Big C, is as more players, if they're just like the student body that gets together and have these frat parties, and they've closed the campus of Michigan State, unless they're going to lie about it, they may not even be able to finish football, even though they'll get it started. You think that will stop basketball? I'll put you back to Big C. Your thoughts?
The thing about basketball, Charlton, is that they can use the model of the WNBA and the NBA.
Yeah.
Is that they can isolate the basketball team. They can put them in a bubble on campus because they don't have to be like a football team where you got 115 players out there on the roster. You got 15 to 20 players in total on the basketball team that are participating in the practices. So it's easier to shelter those players than what it is a football team, Charlton. They will, if they play football, they're definitely going to play basketball.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. And sometimes they always put on pause when things aren't going well. For all you sports fans, have you noticed how many burger commercials that you see? Football, baseball, basketball fans, when you kick off the season, make sure you start it with the Big C burger. It tastes good. And the Big C burger, unlike other burgers, you get exotic meats, Big C. You don't always know what's on the meat, but it sure tastes good, Big C. And you only get it at participating restaurants, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I haven't seen the start of many games. I haven't seen this game series, so I'm going to have somebody ship me with those.
Mike might have to get you the Big Burger. In fact, Richard Sherman, he could have used the Big C burger defensive back for the San Francisco 49ers. That's what happens when you have Hopkins running around and people trying to keep up with him. You end up having a hitch in your giddy up. After the post-game press conference on Sunday, came up with a mysterious injury. Now he's on the IR. Believe me, it's not from eating the Big C burger. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's from figuring out that he can no longer run. You think about what happened to him in the Super Bowls when they lined Sammy Watkins on him and he couldn't keep up with Sammy Watkins, and the Kansas City Chiefs exploited him. Kyler Murray did the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. You put your best receiver over on Richard Sherman and said, let's see what those old legs can do. And the San Francisco 49ers figured that you got to hide him on IR.
Yeah, he should have got the Big C burger. It's full of protein, Big C, and exotic meats. He should have got the Big C burger. But speaking about another guy that can eat the Big C burger, Cleveland, this is for you. Are Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets in need of drafting a quarterback? And I'm serious about it, Big C. You think about the 2021 season coming up. Since becoming starters in 2018, Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma and Sam Darnold out of USC, they have the lowest passing complete percentage in the NFL. They're white, so people don't talk about it much. But would those teams do themselves a favor by looking at a new quarterback for 2001? Your thoughts?
I mean, realistically, Charleston, they're going to really have to consider that. You think these were the top two quarterbacks drafted in 2018 in the NFL.
Yeah.
Neither one of these quarterbacks have succeeded, Charleston. They have not been able to get their teams into the playoffs, other than Josh Rosen, who is now on the practice roster in Tampa.
Yeah.
But these guys have been starters. But Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have succeeded. They have taken their teams to the playoffs in the AFC. These two quarterbacks are struggling. They're both completing 61% of their passes or less.
Yeah.
The last two rated quarterbacks in the NFL. Much hype, no delivery.
Yeah, I wish everybody well, but I know they picked apart these African-American quarterbacks coming out of college that had winning teams too, and they were saying, well, he should play defensive back, or what about wide receiver? I really don't think Jackson's what the NFL is looking for. And then Kyler Murray, they said he should have played baseball because he wasn't good enough for the ball downfield or run against NFL defenses. But they kept pushing Sam Darnold, and they pushed Baker Mayfield, but they won't criticize him. Even Brett Favre said that Bruce Arians should not criticize Tom Brady, and that it's a bad thing when you criticize quarterbacks. He was criticized by Holmgren when he was quarterbacking up in Green Bay. And also, if you look at what Arians did last year, he criticized a quarterback that led the NFL in passing and threw for 5,000 yards, and now he's out of a job. So your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you got to go after Tom Brady. You can't give him a pass. What he did in New England is what he did in New England. Those 6 Super Bowl trophies still sitting in New England.
Bill
They
Belichick.
didn't follow him to Tampa Bay.
Right.
So, and people want to give him credit for what he did in Tampa, in New England, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Just like Cam Newton. He didn't take his MVP trophy with him to New England. He was out of a job.
Yeah.
But when you get a prodigal white quarterback in the NFL that's struggling, you can't criticize him.
No.
You criticize every black quarterback that has a bad day.
Yeah.
But if it's a prodigal white quarterback in the NFL, it's everybody around him that's the problem and not him. The same thing with the Browns. We're talking about Baker Mayfield. They're talking about the wide receivers are the problem.
Yeah.
You turn a wide receiver like Odell Beckham 10 times in the game, but only 3 of the balls are catchable that you threw to him.
Yeah.
That's not the receiver problem. That's the quarterback problem. And Sam Darnold in New York, he had Le'Veon Bell open out the flat. Overthrown, Le'Veon Bell pulled a hamstring.
Yeah.
He couldn't get to the ball. He was trying to make the adjustment.
Yeah.
So stop blaming the receivers. Stop blaming the offensive linemen.
Yeah.
You drafted this quarterback number 1 in your draft, saying that he was a franchise player, that he was going to make the franchise better.
Yeah.
Instead, they made the franchises worse.
Yeah, and Brett Favre said you shouldn't criticize a white quarterback. I mean, the guy that led the NFL in passing, he's just amazing. Last night, the NHL Big C, New York Islanders, they stayed alive. Staying alive. Remember, I think it was Saturday Night Fever back in the day, John Travolta staying alive. They stayed alive against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Big C. You think about this. It's a 2-1 overtime victory, forcing a Game 6 in the Stanley Cup Eastern semifinals, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Islanders not wanting to go home, and the way you were trying to serenade them, they don't want to go back. They'd rather stay alive. Maybe they want to hear that song from you again. But it's been some great playoffs when you think about the NHL stuff. And the last 2 games have gone overtime that have been played. The game with the Las Vegas Golden Knights losing to the Dallas Stars, that was a 3-2 overtime victory. And then the Islanders last night going through with a 2-1 overtime victory. There's been tremendous goaltending in NHL, just like we saw in the playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. With a great job by Jordan Bennington of St. Louis. So we're seeing that same type of great goaltending here in the bubble in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah,
well, I'm going to try one time in the final story. Staying alive. Major League Baseball, the 2020 season is staying alive. Think about it, already nearing its conclusion, despite it seemingly just getting started, thanks to the abbreviated schedule with COVID-19 and expanded postseason. All but 6 teams, the Rangers, the Red Sox, the Pirates, the Diamonds, the Nationals, and Angels, would you believe they still have a semi-realistic chance at cracking the postseason? Big C, your thoughts? Staying alive, your thoughts?
So it's something that this reminds me of what the NHL used to be.
Yeah.
When all but 6 teams would make the playoffs, and now we're getting that in this abbreviated season in Major League Baseball, which has really been exciting. And when they do get to the playoffs, Charleston, they're going to play in a bubble down in Texas. The games are going to be in that new stadium that the Texas Rangers have down in Arlington, and all there in the Minute Maid Dome in Houston.
Yeah.
And the World Series will be played there in Arlington, Texas. But Major League Baseball has been a short abbreviated season, so every game is counted.
Yeah.
We haven't had to go through the doldrums of summer when, a team could be 22 games out of first place and all of a sudden win their division. It's been exciting all the way through.
It's been exciting all the way through. And one more thing that's been exciting, NCAA Division I athletes, just like you've been saying, they've all been granted an annual day off to vote and participate in their civic activities. Make sure you get out and vote. It's the only thing you can do that helps you shape what's going on in this country. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, I know America's going to have sports back, Charlton. We got so many sports playing at one time that we've never had before in the history of America. College football, basketball, NFL football, NHL, WNBA, Major League Baseball, and the NHL. Never before have they've all been playing at the same time this time of the year.
Yeah.
But I want parents to pay attention to the science of COVID-19 and think about protecting your children. Don't leave it in the hands of coaches. I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, our first responders. Everyone leaves their health in the hands of them.
They all do, because they want to stay alive, and you can stay alive too every Monday through Friday at 5, 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.